Thanks for staying with Newsnight tonight. The Xolobeni community of the Eastern Cape has been victorious in its battle against an Australian mining company and Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe. The North Gauteng High Court ruled that a mining license in the area cannot be issued without full consent from the villagers. eNCA reporter Malungelo Booi has been tracking that story for us. Malungelo, what an absolutely incredible ruling. This is not just for the Xolobeni community only, but for all of those other mining communities who we've seen over the years get into these protracted battles with the state over mining rights, and it seems they finally have a judgment that could help them win their cases too.
That's right. In fact, when the judge was making that order or that ruling, some people were crying.
Yeah.
Because they just could not believe it. The issue of Xolobeni, Kathy, dates back to about a decade where these residents have been opposing the mining of titanium in their village. What they have been saying to authorities is that they don't want mining in their community because it will disrupt their way of life. The people in that village, Kathy, believe that they live off subsistence farming, and they believe that tourism, which is sustainable, is the way that they want for their for that village. And of course, they decided, because they're saying that authorities were not listening to them, hence they approached the court seeking this declaratory order to say that actually the minister cannot in any way award a mining right to that Australian company without a full consent, Kathy, of those villagers. But now let's understand, what does full consent actually means? I've asked that to the lawyer of those residents, and this was his response to me.
To date, mining companies have been awarded rights without consent at all. And now moving forward, the consent has often been taken to mean a simple majority vote called by eNCA or the chief. That's not good enough. Full and informed consent is what's required before the mining right can be granted, and that must be in terms of the customary law of the community itself. So as Amampondo, the customary laws our clients have instructed us is that consensus must be sought and the emphasis is placed on the directly affected rights holders rather than a mass community meeting where there's a simple majority vote.
That's such an important point, and again takes us back to the many other communities that we can think of in the Northwest that have been involved in such battles, Malungelo. The fact that there's this fundamental change then in how consent is granted is also going to take a lot of power away from the ways in which communities have been divided, including the Xolobeni community too, over how consent to these mining rights is given. And you've spent time with this community and you've seen the division that had taken place over these rights.
It's interesting because it's going to be interesting how these two groups, those that want mining to take place in that community, how they navigate this space now, because those that have been vehemently opposing to this mine, Kathy, are the people that are saying that we will be affected directly. The mine would have literally to move from our homes so that this mining can take place. That's why this ruling is so important. It says that those that are directly affected, they have to give consent. Without their consent, the minister cannot in any way give the mining right. This ruling, Kathy, has taken away the powers from the minister as well, because this now means that there has to be thorough negotiations
and consultations, which we've been told it was one of the disputed issues, that consultation with the community had not taken place to the extent that is even required by the law.
In fact, in the early 2000s, the then Minister of Environmental Affairs and Mineral Resources, Minister Sonjika, had visited that village and met with the residents, these villagers, and she conceded that at the time that the consultation process was flawed and that the process had to be started all over again. But also there have been accusations in that community that those that want this mining to take place have actually been bribed, by those with money, in fact. And but also we've seen counter allegations from those that want the mining to take place, saying that actually those that are opposing this mining want to protect the interests of a certain few. But also I've asked the Amadiba Crisis Committee whether are they prepared to meet with Minister Gwede Mantashe after this ruling. Let's take a listen at what they had to say. Do you still want to meet with Minister Mantashe? Do you still want to see him in the village?
No. I don't like to see him in the village because we always, as the people of Xolobeni, saying the same thing. It's not that maybe the ministers that they were the minister before, the former minister, they did something wrong or the wrong consultation or something. They must maybe fix those problems. No, the people from Xolobeni were saying that we don't want mining.
And perhaps, Malungelo, just to look at a bit of the history of the story too, today's victory has come at the cost of years of intimidation by some community members, of assassinations that had taken place. Talk us a little bit through that history that people have literally been living with as this process was also going through the justice system.
The story of Xolobeni is, Kathy, a sad one, really, because this issue has torn this community apart. We know that there are people that have been killed. People had their homes destroyed in the early 2000s, especially those that have been vehemently opposing this mining. And of course, just recently, we saw one of the lawyers who's representing these residents who have been opposed to this mining actually being arrested and charged for intimidation and public violence. And in fact, when some of the residents that had traveled from Xolobeni to listen to this historic ruling were actually listing some of the names of the people that have passed on, saying that this judgment today, their deaths were really not in vain, but they are sad, though, that they had actually passed on without actually seeing this coming through.
All right, certainly a precedent-setting case. No word yet on whether the minister will be appealing?
Well, he has not actually said anything that he will appeal, but he has said that this ruling is actually taking away the powers from the state, and that this might actually lead us to not have any mining. But of course, the residents in Xolobeni are clear. If the minister does appeal, they will take this fight to the Constitutional Court.
All right, well, certainly we'll have to wait and see what the next move is going to be by the Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe. That's Malungelo Booi in studio for us, bring us the latest on that story.